and welcome to the Doofcast, a film and TV podcast from Doof Media. My name is Scott Daly, and joining me, as always, he's gonna RUNNOFT. It's Matt Freeman. How's it going, Matt?
Damn, we're in a tight spot.
This week, our series discussing the best 25 movies of the 21st century, as voted on by our patrons, continues with episode 22. We are down to the final four, and number 22 is going to be the 2000 and I said the 2000 picture.
That's right. That's how we said that back then.
Yeah, it is. The kids don't realize it.
Yeah,
but back in old 2000.
20 auto.
Do you the aughts never caught on as like a modern thing?
No,
you know,
nobody called it that at the time.
But you know what's weird is like I figured when we got into the 20s, we'd start calling them the 20s, and it doesn't feel like we do that either.
Yeah,
I've never heard anyone call ourselves in the 20s right now.
No, I've never heard that either. But I definitely have heard younger people not call it the 90s, but instead call it the 1990s.
Yeah, but we definitely called it the 90s when we were in the 90s.
We did. I wonder if there's a line where it's like when you're in the 40s, you know, it's like you're going to call it the 2040s. You're just going to say the 40s. Yeah, I think we're still going to say the 2040s.
I feel like we will.
The 40s refers to the 1940s and, you know, World War II.
Yeah. I think that's right, because I think that's the same with the 20s. Is the reason why we don't say the 20s is because the 20s are flappers and Great Depression.
Right. This is weird.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, do you want to talk about this week's movie, which is Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yeah, and it took place in the 30s.
The 30s.
Let's do it. Yeah, this movie's this week's movie. It's the Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? In the Deep South during the 1930s, three escaped convicts search for hidden treasure while a relentless lawman pursues them.
This movie was written and directed by Joel and Ethan Coen. It stars George Clooney, James Turturro, and Tim Blake Nelson. And Matt, fun fact about this movie, it was filmed entirely on IMAX cameras. Wait, no, I got it confused with another adaptation of The Odyssey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was filmed in normal cameras.
It was filmed in normal cameras because these directors are normal fucking human beings.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like we've talked about this movie more than one time before now. I know we have a full episode on this movie, but I also feel like we talked about it early on in our Coen's episode. But how you feeling about Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Well, funnily enough, I loved it more than ever on this viewing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just like everything works about it. I think part of the reason why I loved it more than ever on this viewing is that this was the viewing where I finally showed it to my kids. And that's always effectively an opportunity to watch the movie completely again for the first time.
Sure.
And there were a few funny things that came out of that experience. One of them was that I was really remembering vividly that the first time I saw this movie when I was like 15, I didn't really think it was that funny. And I think I just didn't get a lot of it. And I think I also just didn't have like a breadth of world knowledge, maybe. Like a lot of stuff I was just sort of like confused by in a literal like historical sense of like, oh, so like why is that there were KKK people at the same time that there were bank robbers? Like that's the kind of thought that a 15-year-old has, you know, or a 15-year-old in 2000, I suppose. But my kids watched it, and like, especially my oldest, she was like right with it. And in fact, when so like the scene when they're in I'm thinking about the KKK members because like I'm thinking about this moment where we're watching the movie, sure. and the characters are walking around in the forest and they painted their faces black to hide, to sneak in and break their friend out of prison. And then you see the fire through the woods and you hear the singing start, and she starts laughing immediately, knowing what's about to happen. And
wow, that's very astute.
I
love
thought
that.
so too. Yeah. And I was like, I was pretty impressed. But I don't know. I just think it's funny how I think this movie is hilarious now. And it's like so quotable. And I quote it all the time. And you and I are quoting it back and forth to each other before we click record. And it's just funny how I kind of feel the same about The Princess Bride, by the way. Like, that's a movie I just did not get at all the first time I saw it as a kid. I was just like, is this supposed to be funny? Almost like I wasn't vibing with it. And now it's one of my, most beloved movies.
Yeah.
It's just weird. I don't know. This is kind of a like more retrospective, old man thinking about a movie from his youth type conversation, I guess. But I'll let you have the ball for a bit. What did you think on this viewing?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I was trying to let people know something we talked about on our other podcast the other day, but like, I am in preparation for the end of this 25 and the 21st thing. I am finally actually like sitting down and putting in work into my top 25 of the 21st century, because I never actually did that. And as part of that process, I was really like trying to figure out, like, I want to have a Coen's movie in there for sure. What is my favorite Coen movie from the 21st century? And like, my gut instinct was to say, well, not this one. And so I went into it thinking I would enjoy it, but kind of being a little hesitant on how much I would actually enjoy it. And I was so pleasantly surprised on this reviewing just how fun this movie is. Like, we already talked about No Country for Old Men, and I deeply love that movie. I do. I think it's a great movie. I think when the Coens do like very serious, they can be great. I just find myself like leaning towards the Coen comedy sensibility, like when they are really doing like outlandishly funny, not even necessarily comedy, because like Fargo is very funny, but it also has serious beats into it. But when they're like doing their sensibility for the absurd and building that into drama, I think that's what I like them the most. And so I think this movie is almost, in my estimation, like the best distillation of that idea. Where it's just really fun. It's very funny. It moves very well. And this is the first time maybe I really sat down. It's funny. I'm about to say this is the first time I sat down and watched it with a critical eye, despite the fact that we've done a whole episode on it. But like, I was really into this time what the film's like. I don't want to say the film's politics are, because I hate that expression, but like, I was thinking about the more serious things the movie was trying to say with our two characters running for governor, what we're actually doing with that, what we're saying with the idea. I think maybe just because I had the Odyssey in my head because of the Nolan film, but like, I had never really thought about the fact that the man's name is Homer, right? Yeah. Like, that's it. It's fun as like another throw off, like, this is an Odyssey adaptation thing, but Homer's the one that they literally run out of town on a rail.
Yeah.
And I've never really thought about what that says about what the Coens are saying about mythology and this kind of mythological storytelling. And Everett has that line at the very end when they're floating on the coffin talking about how this is the end of mysticism and the end of these kind of things, and rationality and progress is going to come to the South. And I was just thinking about that kind of stuff a lot. And I don't even know if I have my head fully around like what we're doing with them, but I never thought about that movie in that kind of detail before.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's happening in the background and it's important, but you're paying more attention to the character's struggles. And so when you watch the movie over and over, you notice that more.
Sure.
I was thinking more about that and sort of the racial politics angle, where you've got, I mean, it's pervasive actually. It's not
it's
a
the
minor
opening of the movie. I don't think I've ever maybe consciously noticed that, like, when we see the Chang Gang in the opening of the film, presumably our three characters are members of that chain gang, but like every person we see is a black man.
Yeah. It begins with it. We've got the whole sequence with I forget the guitarist's name, but the guitarist, and then the guitarist being captured by the KKK, having to save him from the KKK. Then the leader of the literally the winning politician is the KKK leader.
He's the reform politician, right? And his name is Homer.
Exactly. I have a hard time pinning down what we're doing. I'm glad you brought this up, but I don't actually have an answer for you. The fact that he was named Homer, that occurred to me as well. I was thinking about it because, speaking of watching with my kids, we went to see the Odyssey the other day. They're really into the Odyssey right now. My oldest was like picking out all these through lines where it's like, oh, these characters are kind of like the such and such characters in the Odyssey, and I was like, oh yeah, I totally forgot about them. But you're right, that is kind of like that. But the idea of the the villainous, if you were going to try to make like direct analogies to the Odyssey, it kind of breaks down, right? Because sort of like you could sort of say like maybe one of them is like Zeus. You could say Papio Daniels could be Zeus. You could kind of say that maybe the guy who's chasing them is kind of Poseidon, because it's like it's basically, I mean, he's the devil, but he's also Poseidon because he's like supernatural, and he's hounding Ulysses Everett McGill. But who is Homer, right? Who is that character supposed to be? And I get that the movie is really not even trying to be an Odyssey 1-to-1 matchup, but then why name him Homer? I think it's really interesting, and I don't quite know what to do with it.
For sure. Like that is like, I don't know if I had ever like thought about his name before, other than because I think like my view of this movie was always like, I made jokes about the fact that this was an Odyssey, actually an adaptation of the Odyssey, because I think actually like the Coens kind of played that off as a joke too, where they're like, I think in interviews, and you can never tell with the Coens whether they're being serious or not, but they're just like, we didn't read it. We never read that, actually. We just thought it'd be funny. And it's like, oh, that's funny, but like, are you being serious or are you just fucking around? Like it. So I always kind of just treated it as this fun, not an Easter egg, but almost just like side detail about this story that, oh yeah, it just so happens to be playing off of a lot of the imagery and stuff from the Odyssey. And then there's the Homer of it all.
Yeah.
So I mean, to try to put my finger on what we're doing here, I think it is this kind of really interesting. This is the South during the Great Depression. This is a moment of great change in our country. And we have on the one half this, like if you think about like what Homer represents mythological storytelling of a world full of mystery and the unknown, and trying to bring up like this idea of great men and heroes, and it's all kind of bullshit. I think this is actually like a deeply cynical movie ultimately, because like both politicians are just awful. Like they're both bad. Like one of them's like pretending to be the reform candidate. He's wanting to reform things. Like this again, this is during the Great Depression. There's an incredible amount of suffering happening, and he's holding himself up as like the reformer, and that's bullshit. And then we have the other candidate who is the incumbent, and he obviously just wants to win. Like his whole, like we learn nothing about like what his politics are. He just wants to win. That's his thing. And he sees the Soggy Bottom Boys and he leaps on them just as a way of winning.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Just worth it to point out at this point that Papio Daniel is a historical figure too. Like
correct.
So the movie is not only playing with like mythology, but also history in a very explicit way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just
no. You're correct. To note that. So like, I really do think it is maybe quite literally this kind of interesting war between the idea of mythology and reality, because that's kind of what Everett serves, right? He's honestly playing a better Odysseus than like the Odysseus in Nolan's film did in a certain way, in that he's capturing like the tricky kind of, he's a piece of shit. He's kind of a piece of shit.
Yeah. He's a con man. He's like he is literally a con man. And that is, I should have said this when I was talking about, the identity of Odysseus and Jack Sparrow being a good Odysseus. It's like, actually, I really think Ulysses Everett McGill is a great Odysseus, because he's always barely escaping from situations and conniving and basically amoral, actually. Like that. I think that's a word I've never really applied to the character of Odysseus, but Odysseus is just totally amoral. Like that I can't unsee it now, and that's that's we kind of forgive him because it's like, well, it's fun. He's fun to watch, right? The same as Jack Sparrow. Like Jack Sparrow has that in common, where it's like, don't really care that you're a pirate because you're so fun. That's the archetype.
Well, and it's really funny to me how quickly the movie establishes this kind of stuff, right? Because like we have literally like the opening moment of this movie is not the opening moment, but like when we meet these characters, it's them running to get onto this train. Everett jumps up, he makes it onto the train, and then he's immediately smooth talking the other guys. His friends are still attached to him behind him, struggling to get onto the train. He does not turn around once to help either of them. And then I can't remember if it's Tim Blake Nelson or if it's John Turturro that doesn't make it, but then yanks the rest of them back and he blames them for it. And it's like, just turn around and pull him up. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But he's not going to do that. And that's such a great defining moment of the character. Like, this is the type of guy he is. Like, he doesn't give a shit about these guys, actually.
And it's unclear whether he has had any kind of character growth by the end of the movie, right? Like, I lean toward no, because...
Well, he's a con artist, so like it could just be because what he wanted was to get back with his wife. And so he's going to do it and say whatever he wants to get there.
And I think like... not the very last scene of the movie, but one of the last scenes after the flood has happened, they're all sitting on the floating whatever it is, and he continues giving one of his speeches about how there's no divine intervention, even though they've just been clearly saved by divine intervention.
Yeah, and he literally sees the cow on the roof. That's what I was struggling with, is because I think there's by making Homer the racist asshole that gets run out of town, it's almost as if the movie's argument is this time of mythology is coming to an end. But maybe the ultimate message of the movie is a rejection of that, because like obviously like we had this random blind guy that gave them this perfectly accurate prophecy. So like there's this idea of, well, because I think it is really interesting that we have all these people. Like the moment that Homer loses is a moment where he backs the wrong horse because he misreads people. And so it's this idea that this song, this music is good enough to where people suddenly don't give a shit about their racial prejudices anymore, which is like a thing that happened for real, in life. And so, but that even of itself is like a deeply cynical view on things, right? Because it's not saying that like, and then people didn't care about if a person was black anymore. And it's like, no, they just cared more about like listening to good music, actually. And so I'm really into this idea of people like rejecting mythological hero storytelling for the new thing, which happens to be music. But it's just another I'm struggling to come up with the words here, but I think there's something really, really complicated this movie is actually doing. And like you said, it's doing it in the periphery of all this fun.
I enjoy what you're going for, although I still don't quite see how it all culminates in a thesis. I can't, I have to say that when you just look at pictures of Homer Stokes, played by, I just had his name, dang it. Wayne Duvall. There is not a human being who looks more like Homer Simpson. That's
gotta be it on purpose, right?
I feel like it, right? Like Homer Simpson doesn't wear glasses, so that's one way where it doesn't quite work. But I guess you could say, well, Homer doesn't have glasses, but Homer, the way that the Simpsons characters are drawn, they have these giant circular black eyes. And the fact that he has these circular glasses really actually just makes him look more like Homer Simpson, even though Homer Simpson doesn't have glasses. So calling him Homer and then having him look like Homer Simpson, I just now I tipped over from thinking that I was making a joke to actually being kind of serious, because the circular eyes are like such a particular thing of The Simpsons. But then
Yeah.
but why do that? I don't know. Like, so the thing about the Coens, is that I'm never sure how much they're just kind of like throwing stuff together. Cause Raising Arizona is a movie that feels very chaotic. And are they saying something with it? Absolutely. They're saying all kinds of stuff, but like they're saying it in a very slapdash kind of, we're just gonna do all this crazy fun stuff. And there, like, I don't think there's like a very like nailed down master plan where it's like, this is the significance of this element. It's like, no, I think they're riffing. I mean, I think they're two guys riffing with each other, and they come up with weird, funny things. And so it's totally fine for us to try to come up with like, well, what is this movie saying? Because death of the author. But I'm not entirely sure that they even know exactly what they're saying.
Yeah, that could be. I mean, this is the fun part about creation, is that it just comes up with great stuff that the author was not even aware of. We had a great conversation with a creative person last night who said as much, right?
True.
So I think so, but I continue to be fascinated by this movie from that angle of like, well, what does this ultimately reveal about, to say it lamely, like the human condition? And I'm really into this movie as just like a fun romp, like where George Clooney gets to be like maximally George Clooney, where he's hilarious but still kind of suave, but in that way where he can be like, he can just do anything.
Yeah.
He's like, he can just be George Clooney in this very specific kind of way. But I'm also just really into the further examination of, I'm just really into examining Homer right now and the Odyssey because of the Nolan film and all the talk that's been around the Nolan film.
Well,
and there's a part of me that wants to believe, there's a part of me that believes everything you just said. There's a part of me that wants to believe that like, that's just the Coen's aesthetic of like pretending to be aloof and like, we don't know what we're doing. We're just throwing stuff at the wall, and it's actually the exact opposite. And I have no data to confirm this. There's like, it's just a thing I want to believe. You know?
Well, we can keep at it. I think there are many other elements that we would have to talk about to really paint the picture completely, like Christianity and a kind of Christian revival that the movie is depicting is a huge part of the movie. Just as much a part as the racial side, I think, where, you have the idea that one of the characters, Tim Blake Nelson's character, thinks that he's been saved by being baptized. A lot of them are preoccupied with the idea of the devil's chasing them. They're constantly, beseeching God throughout the movie. And I kind of love this because it's a very explicitly Christian, a very particular like American early 20th century flavor of Christian embedded in this mythological story.
Yeah.
And I think that's just so, like, that in and of itself is just interesting, where it's like, oh, there's definitely divine intervention in this movie, but it's not Zeus and Athena, it's God.
Yeah.
And this guy who's hunting them, we're going to really strongly imply that he's the devil. Yeah. And that's just, I mean, it's fun for one thing. Like it's creative. I can't help but see it as connecting with these other things you're talking about in some way. I just can't quite figure out how.
Yeah. I mean, to make a socially unacceptable comparison, what you're talking about reminds me, of course, of Neil Gaiman's American Gods, a book that we loved by an author that I don't anymore. In this idea of taking these old myths and then layering them on top of Americana and then like seeing what falls out. Mm-hmm. And there is a really interesting thing with the Christianity in this movie, because like on the one hand, yes, like there is the God and devil but there's also like the John Goodman Bible salesman is just a really interesting wrinkle in everything we're talking about here, because he is another representation of Christianity in this movie, and his method of that is entirely transactional. It's why does he sell the word of God? He's a con artist himself. It's a con. It's for money. It's fake.
Yeah.
Just like the Christian KKK people that are holding up Christianity while trying to lynch black people. So yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff there, and I'm saying there's all kinds of stuff there because I'm trying to come up with the words to make a conclusion on this beat of talk I'm having, and I still don't know exactly what like to ultimately say about it.
I don't either. I mean, there's distinctly. I said, there's all kinds of divine intervention in this movie, but it's like it's all implied, right? It's we were literally told the whole movie that they were going to flood the valley.
Sure.
So that was just a thing that was set up and then paid off. That wasn't, God. But then again, maybe it was. The timing was just so perfect, right? So it's all it's ambiguous. We don't know that guy was the devil. We never see anything supernatural, certainly, and it's. There's no character who really portrays like a good, there's no like purely good character in this movie, I guess, kind of tying in with what you said earlier about it being kind of a cynical movie. It does, like, the worldview of the movie is it's a cynical, pessimistic worldview, because it's the Great Depression. I think that's another thing where it's so pervasive that we all like it disappears. Like the fact that this is the Great Depression, like all these characters are existing and living in a context where they're all living in destitution, basically. The reason he's a con artist is implicitly tied with the fact that there are no economic opportunities for honest people. So he feels like he has to do this. He feels justified in doing it. The Papio Daniel's sort of trying to maybe espouse one particular vision of a better future, but I don't want to be overly generous to him, because I think he's also a kind of con artist. So he's also kind of self-aggrandizing, self-promoting character. I think like the music in the movie is, I don't know what to say. Like, it's not an accident that the soundtrack is one of the best soundtracks of any movie of all time. You can just listen to the soundtrack of this movie. It's beautiful. Everything about the soundtrack, and the fact that, I mean, it almost is a musical in the way you have Man of Constant Sorrow as like a within film musical number, and then there's other pieces in there, like the people walking to the water for the baptism, or the sirens on the rocks, where it's like, people really be singing in this situation? I don't know, probably not. That's okay. It's a semi-magical, mystical feeling vibe the movie's going for. But
I do, I agree. Just to talk about that scene briefly while we're on it, like in this kind of paradigm of talking about religion in this movie and how it's depicted, is really interesting that like the baptism moment is played entirely straight, right? I was honestly like, I remembered the sirens exist as an event in this movie, and so when the song from the baptism picks up, I mistakenly was like, oh, this is the sirens part, and then it wasn't. I mean, they just get baptized. There's no con there. It's just like, these are just people baptizing people in the river, and that's it. And so I think another little wrinkle on how we're depicting religion here, because that is this just straight up, we are here to help people. In this difficult financial time, we're making sure people are saved, according to their belief system. So I'm noticing like the importance of music in that moment, and then the importance of the song Man of Constant Sorrow, where it's like music takes on this redemptive, magical quality. It's sort of like wherever there is beautiful music in the movie, it's helping, or it's saving. Or I mean, the movie literally begins with the chain gang
singing this song, and it's like they're singing it so that they can spiritually survive the pain they're going through.
Yep.
Like it's not just music for music's sake. It always shows up in a place where it feels like it's doing, like the music is doing something. It's acting in the story.
For sure.
And I think it's a statement about music. Like I think that's, it's not just dressing. It's like, this is about the power of music and the beauty of music and the spiritual potential of music. And like with and without a Christian context, it's because like a lot of, you know, we were talking about the Midnight Mass soundtrack, like a lot of, you know, hymns can be very beautiful and moving. But then Man of Constant Sorrow itself is not a hymn. It's just a very, you know, touching and human song.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going back to the general idea of like the Odyssey as this epic poem, but kind of this song as well, right?
Yeah.
This idea of this was how stories were communicated, and the kind of the stories as this empathy device, this bonding device amongst people, and so like, yeah, it's like, I mean, you listen to the words of that song, and it is no wonder that a group of people suffering mightily under the depression like hear the song and find it moving and relate to it, and the reason it becomes a huge hit in the world of this movie, right? I mean, I am a man of constant sorrow.
Yeah, and it's just such a great.
It's just such a good song.
Yeah. I guess I'm gonna let's let this cook for a bit. I did want to just at some point just mention like the trio of George Clooney, Turturro, and Tim Blake Nelson are. You know, sitting here, it's hard for me to think of a better trio of actors who are playing off of each other. They're all doing something kind of unusual and off type. I mean, even George Clooney, this is the most interesting George Clooney role, I think. He's doing something different, and so are the other two. I mean, Turturro, he's more of a character actor. He does a lot of different stuff. We've seen him do a lot of different stuff over his career, but this is like this is pretty far out even for him. And then Tim Blake Nelson's character, I feel like I just love it more every time I see this movie, because he's so slapstick, but like you believe the character, you know?
Yeah. He's delightful. He's delightful, and he's so kind of charmingly innocent. And so you're just on board with him completely. Yeah. I love Tim Blake Nelson in this movie. All three of them are great. Like, I love Turturro, like almost like does a thing with his jaw to give him an underbite that just makes him seem like from the get, like kind of very menacing. In a way that you're not sure how to read. And like, there's a lot of tension between him and Everett throughout the movie. And it makes him come off as like kind of this very, very scary person at times.
Yeah. That's one thing I don't know. I think I just enjoy is like, it's not really just a movie about like, and then they all became great friends. I mean, they kind of do, but that's not what the movie is, right? Like, it's not. This movie is not planes, trains, and automobiles. The point of it is not like, look at this odd couple or odd trio in this case who grow to understand each other over the course of the movie. I mean, Everett doesn't care about them.
No,
like he only wants to break out John Turturro for some, like, I forget why exactly they decide to break out John Turturro. It's not. I forget. I'm blanking.
I think he kind of feels guilty. I don't know. I can't remember the exact thing that happens in the scene where they make that choice.
Yeah, I thought. Yeah, it doesn't matter. The point is like they are just kind of more. They're more like the Three Stooges than anything, where they're goofballs in sort of three different ways, and they never quite see eye to eye. But I guess kind of the joy of it is that regardless of the fact that they never quite see eye to eye, they're still able to work together, and you know, help each other out. And I also, I don't know. I just think there's something kind of fun about the sort of magical grace of the idea that them singing into the can at the radio station, which they thought of as like just another con.
Yeah.
Because they thought they were conning the blind radio operator. Turns out to be this thing that saves them because, it's just, they just happen to be amazing musicians who sound beautiful together. I've always kind of liked the idea that like, maybe they're not even that good, but like the three of them together for some reason are that good, you know?
Well, it what I love about it is obviously this is not George Clooney's real voice. And it's to me like, so what I read was that like George Clooney was originally supposed to sing this song actually, and then they like put him in a recording booth and he opened his mouth and sung and was just bad at singing actually. Like like George Clooney, I guess, doesn't get to be good at all the things because one of the things he was not good at was singing. And so they couldn't use his voice. And so to me, it seems like they kind of leaned into it because it becomes so obvious that these are dubbed voices to me that it's part of the joke. Because it just like, they don't sound like them at all. Like it's not no one's even trying to sound like George Clooney if he was singing. It's just like a completely different voice. And so it's like, we realize we can't get what we originally had planned. So we're just going to lean into it in a way that makes it funny. But yeah, also like leads you to be like, what is going on here? Like, how is this actually working out?
It is funny. It is funny, and it feels funny and absurd in that Coen way, where you're kind of. I mean, it's fun to remember. Like, what were you expecting? Right? You're expecting they're going to sing, and you're not expecting it to be incredible. Right? You're like, what? Like, why are they so good? You know. And it doesn't make any sense. And that's kind of like the grace where, and that's what makes it so satisfying at the end when they start singing and they have no idea that everyone is immediately going to recognize their voices and their reaction there. Like, I love that. That's one of my favorite scenes in film is the end when they start singing and the crowd goes crazy. And
it's the Soggy Bottom Boys.
Yeah.
Which I don't think I ever like caught. Like, this is how bad I am at watching movies sometimes. The reason they're called the Soggy Bottom Boys
is because they're all wet.
It's because they're wet.
I only got that on this viewing. I don't know what is wrong with us. I don't know. It is funny that we both got it on this viewing, but never any other time. Yeah, they're all wet because they just got baptized. That's why they're wet.
That's why. Yeah, they're he makes a comment on how they're soggy.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh,
yeah.
I was like, I'm good at movies.
Yeah,
yeah. I like that's hilarious because he's kind of making a joke at their expense about the idea of them being baptized.
Yeah.
Like that's what he's doing.
And he's also it's kind of a joke about them being like babies. He's kind of mocking them as like, you're like babies who think that you're going to get baptized and that's going to change your life. You're like, you know, soggy bottom being like a wet diaper. Like that's the joke. But then that turns out to actually be their salvation, right? Like that's amazing.
It is, but what is it saying? I don't know.
I think it's like sometimes there is unearned grace, and all you have to do is show a little bit of humility. Like, okay, water as a symbol here. Like, let's just nail this in. Okay, the two other ones get baptized, but Ever doesn't get baptized.
Yeah,
and
he does.
You could argue the whole movie is him refusing to kneel before God. Okay, the penitent man kneels before God. And then at the very end, they're going to hang him, and finally, he is frightened enough that he kneels and he begs God for another chance to see his family, and then the flood arrives and he is baptized. Right, he's baptized by the flood.
No, I love this because this is what the pomade means. Right, like the pomade is a thing he's putting in his hair that is, it's like he's kind of anointing himself with oil, but it's not the same thing.
It's vanity.
Yeah, and he refuses to wash because he doesn't want to wash this this oil out of his hair.
Yeah.
So like he never, like that's the other thing they say when he doesn't get the baptism. They're like, well, it would have been good at least to get your head under the water so you wash that pomade out of your hair.
Yeah.
And he's like, no.
Yeah.
It stinks. Like, and then when the water comes and washes him away and does baptize him in the water, what is it we see floating through the water is just hundreds of cans of this pomade.
Yeah, yeah.
As if that's being washed away as well.
It's being washed away. Yeah, the oil. I mean, and also like oil and water. Like pomade is basically a wax or an oil that is waterproof, right? He's like insulating himself against the possibility of any kind of grace.
Yeah.
And then he finally.
But to your point, like at the end of the day, like are we? This stuff happens, and yet Everett is still like, there's a logical explanation for everything, yada yada yada, right? Like it's not like he's like, I've seen the light, God is real.
I think that's just the kind of the Coen sensibility. Really, is like, of course, he's not gonna like really just suddenly change and be a totally different person, but for that moment he changed, and he can never really go back to the way he was before.
Yeah.
Like, you know, in his heart, he knows that he was just saved, but because he's the son of a bitch, he's going to continue to pretend, you know, he's never going to admit he was wrong out loud to these guys, certainly.
But he can't pretend like he didn't see the cow on the roof.
Yeah.
And as the tie back to the prophecy that was given to him by the blind man at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah. I don't think it's actually that wholly cynical. I think it's actually kind of a movie about like how do you get your soul saved if you're this kind of person. And we're watching all the characters kind of struggle with similar questions. I mean, the idea of saving your soul, by the way, like the movie's very explicit about I think it's Michael Johnson is the name, which is another historical figure. Isn't that the name of the guitarist that they meet?
Gosh, I don't remember.
Because I feel like my recollection, I think the name is Michael Johnson, and it's like a real, regardless of the name, it's like he is a explicit reference to a real historical figure who was this sort of, you know, foundational figure in blues music, and like a prodigy of the guitar, and the legend or the myth or whatever is that he sold his soul to the devil for the ability to play guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that the movie kind of takes this seriously. I love when Tim Blake Nelson says in this very like earnest way that feels very earnest for that particular character, is he says, "Oh son, for that you sold your everlasting soul." and it's such a like serious line for that character in particular, and he says it in a way where you're like, oh yeah, that's terrible. like you believe him in that moment. Like, yeah, that's I don't know, that for some reason that always like struck me as a because of the way he delivers it with that intensity. I'm like, oh, we're supposed to kind of pay attention to this. And this is kind of a movie that is about like a man whose soul is at stake, except it's, you know, it's really our protagonist whose soul is at stake, I think.
Yeah. But I mean, to talk about the Homer of it all again, like the idea of the Odyssey is like Odysseus being kind of at war with the gods, and the plot of the movie is the gods and Odysseus making right with each other again. You could see how this is the American interpretation of that idea.
I love that.
Of this kind of staunch atheist coming to terms with God, the God of the Americas.
That's fantastic. Yeah, no, that works. That works for me really well. Actually, I love that.
Yeah. What a good movie. These Coens guys, I think they're going somewhere.
They know what they're doing. They know how to put a movie together.
They sure do. And it's like, so you were talking a little bit about George Clooney. I think the thing people forget possibly about George Clooney is this is like the first time he did a performance like this. So like I think he made a living off of doing stuff like this after this, right? Like I always think of Burn After Reading and the George Clooney and Burn After Reading, which is just this absurd, hilarious comedic character. But like George Clooney in the 90s was like this like ridiculously good looking, like suave, like action hero. Like he went on ER, everyone fell in love with him. He turned that into a career doing like action films. Like, I mean, Peacemaker. You remember Peacemaker?
Vaguely.
Was it called Peacemaker? Or am I just thinking? I think it was called Peacemaker. He did, like, he was in the Thin Red Line. It was The Peacemaker. That's why he was in the Thin Red Line. He was like in that movie Three Kings. He was Batman.
He was Batman.
But he's like doing this very traditional kind of Hollywood like movie star thing. And like it's almost as if this movie is like explicitly telling George Clooney that like all the things that make people like George Clooney are things that are like the negative traits of you as a person. Kind of like, cause like the things that annoy people about Everett is that he's like this smooth talker con artist, right? But it becomes kind of a joke at his expense because he just looks kind of like a goofy idiot. Like, I mean, the moment with the Cyclops, John Goodman, of just like, I don't understand. Like he's just sitting there, like I don't know. I'm just really into his willingness to kind of make himself look dumb.
Yeah. He definitely comes off as the idiot there. He is the I don't know the Three Stooges that well. I feel like there is a particular comedic archetype that this is, where it's like, he thinks he's smarter than everybody. He thinks he's the smart, stooge.
Yeah, because like, he has all these vocabulary words. He's got this big old vocabulary.
But you're still one of the Three Stooges, buddy. So don't get too high and mighty. But you want to see him succeed. Like that's
sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I like George Clooney a lot. I like a lot of his movies. I really like Michael Clayton. These are like later movies, but like
I've never done a podcast on Michael Clayton. I feel like we need to. I love that movie.
Yeah. I mean, even like kind of more minor movies like The Ides of March and The American are movies of his that I really, really enjoyed. And I think like I love his very like sort of restrained acting where it's all there. It's all on his face. It's just in very small choices and small movements. I've always liked him a lot. And I think that maybe that's one way in which his character works really well is he's playing a character who's sort of bigger and more of a character, but inside of that there is still all of the subtlety happening. Like the scenes when he re-encounters his daughters and his wife, I was really noticing like this is like really like there's a ridiculous sort of caricatured character here, but there's also an earnest like guy who's just having a meltdown because he can't believe his wife is doing this to him.
Yeah.
And it's totally genuine. Like that's like I love that he's hitting that where he is making the character big, but he's also preserving the core of a believable dude.
The movie plays it like I think very kind of cleverly plays it as a sort of joke of like I'm the paterfamilias, right? Like, but like the inciting incident of this whole thing is that his wife did this to him, and he's furious about it. I also really like the movie allows us to play certain expectations of why all these people were in prison, and like the reveal that he was practicing law without a license, and that's why he went to jail. It's a very like character revealing moment for him because that's like we believed he was a bank robber or I guess an armored car robber, right? But that's not it at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, on the flip side of that, Tim Blake Nelson says he says all my sins have been washed away, and that Piggly Wiggly I knocked over that's been forgiven. They're like, you said he was innocent of those charges. And he said, well I was
lied
lying
about that too. And that sin is washed away too.
I love it, right? Like he's the stick up guy, right? That's so funny because he seems like such an innocent.
What do we think about the bank robber character, who I think is another historical figure, right?
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting too, of showing, like, creating this character who, like, seems to have lost meaning in his purpose of holding up banks.
Yeah, gosh, like, and he's like manic depressive, and
Yeah.
he is super thin skinned about being called babyface.
Babyface, yeah.
Which is like this. I love that we're having this conversation, because every moment of my life prior to now, I've just thought of that as kind of a gag of just like, he's sensitive.
Yeah.
That's funny. He's got a machine gun, but he's sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
But like, why did the Coens put that in the movie, right?
Sure.
This particular character, what does he say, and how does he play off of what we're doing with all of our other characters? I think that one thing that jumps to mind is like a kind of a lack of self-awareness and a vanity that reminds me a lot of Everett. Where like he has a very particular image of himself as like, I am this outlaw, bandit. I have a reputation, and then it just drives him crazy that the reputation isn't what he wants it to be. The reputation is like, it's he kind of has a chubby face, so you're baby face now. And it's like, that's not, you see how much work I'm putting into this to be a scary bank robber, and you're going to call me baby face?
Oh yeah, I like that. As a reflection of the way Everett wants to be perceived by his family, and of course the way he is.
Yeah.
That's not your daddy. Your daddy got hit by a train.
Yeah.
A lot of respectable men have gotten hit by trains.
Yeah. The story and the whole idea of there being a story, and like, I'm really going out here now, but like you mentioned the idea of the Odyssey being a song. The Odyssey is also like a story that people are telling about Odysseus, and it's like the tale of the tale of your father, of Everett, that the mom is telling to the daughters is a story. It's made up, just and like the legend of Babyface Nelson is a tale. It's not true. It's a legend, and he's trying to cultivate a certain legend, and it's not the legend he wants it to be. I kind of like that. Like at the end, he's ecstatic because he's like, they're gonna electrocute me, and like, what a fantastic ending to my legend is kind of the. He doesn't say it in those words, but that's. I think I'm reading the character right. Like that's why he's excited about this.
I think you're right. Yep. He kind of wanted to be caught.
Yeah.
And he wasn't getting caught.
Yeah.
So that's what excites him. Yeah. Man, Matt, I really like this movie.
I do too.
It's a pretty good movie.
It's a pretty good movie, and it's very funny. It's actually extremely quotable and funny, and just well put together.
So what do you think about the idea that I've seen, like the criticism I've seen laid against this movie is that it's actually like, and we've heard this complaint before with the Coens, but when this movie came out, a lot of people said this was being very critical and like making fun of the South and Southern people, and even like poor people. What would your response be to that if you were the Coens and they levied that against you? Well, I disagree with the criticism, by the way, for the similar reason that I disagree that Fargo is making fun of people from Minnesota.
I mean, like, as a Southern person with a lot of sort of redneck background, I never felt like offended by the movie at all. Like, because it's just, I feel like it's just kind of being honest about humanity. And again, this is the Great Depression. So like everybody's situation is directly tied to the fact that they're struggling with this immense burden of poverty. And then, I mean, there's the racial element where it's like, the racial politics in the South, and there's KKK people, but then the whole movie ends with the KKK guy being defeated by the power of everyone loving music and basically just being like, hey, we're not going to do that anymore. And I mean, the one thing I love about the Papio character is like, because he's such a just self-serving, self-promoting guy, he just is like listening to the wind, and he's like, oh, interesting. The sentiment has turned. Apparently, these people aren't racist anymore. Okay. And then he just gets up on stage and he's like, hey, that was great. We're all not racist anymore, right? Awesome. You know, it's like,
we don't care that the one of those guys is a black boy, and we don't care that these people are criminals. And
and he's just reacting to what he's seeing happen, right?
Well, and it's again a critique on, I think, on institutions, because like, I mean, the most hilarious thing he says is these three boys are going to be my brain trust.
Yeah,
they're fucking morons. They're idiots.
Yeah, will be the power behind the throne, really speaking.
Yeah, it's great, and I agree with you. I think like the reason why I think this is that like I think when the Coens poke fun at things, they do so from such a loving place, because like I think it's true about Fargo. I think it's true about this movie. Like Tim Blake Nelson is playing a certain type of like ignorant, kind of dumb Southern caricature, but the movie like loves Tim Blake Nelson, right? Like the movie, even if it is making jokes about him, like he is not the punchline of the movie. Like he is an adored character who is like the one of the, if we're gonna say, you said like there's no good characters in this movie, like he's the closest thing to a moral character in the movie.
Yeah,
like
he's the heart.
He literally, when he says I've been baptized now, I'm saved, I'm not going to do any more bad things, he means it. He actually means it.
Yeah. And then I think he doesn't actually. Well,
I don't think he does. Yeah. I mean, he's like next to people while they're doing bad things. But.
Right. Right. Snatching the dollar bills out of the air. No, I don't think I don't remember that being a thing, but I also just, I'm like, that's just not, they're not being mean. They're just talking about human nature, and sometimes people are idiots. And but it's really actually kind of an optimistic movie in some ways. It's funny because there's a cynicism about human nature, but there's also in parallel with it an optimism. It's just like, look, people can't magically change overnight and become better people, but they can change a little bit if their face is shoved in the consequences of their mistakes over and over.
Yeah.
It's certainly not as cynical as like, Fargo or something. And even Fargo has, the cop character.
Yeah.
So
it's definitely less cynical than No Country for Old Men.
Yeah. I think No Country is possibly the most cynical of their movies.
That's because this movie came out in the year 2000 before 9/11 happened, and we all got sad.
Yeah, we all basically stopped believing that God was going to protect us as a country.
Yeah.
I don't even know how literal I'm being with that remark. Like it's hard to express. This is one of those weird like millennial things, but it's like, no, seriously though, we all did kind of believe, even if you weren't Christian necessarily, we all did kind of believe that America had a magical shield, and was actually special and unique and possibly protected by God. And then it's like, you just get a moment of contradiction that can't be ignored, and you can't really go back to feeling that kind of security and safety again. And I absolutely do think that made its way down into our art. And so,
Oh yeah. What year does No Country come out?
Oh gosh, I think I had it up a second ago.
2007. So the 7 years between Oh Brother Where Art Thou and No Country for Old Men.
Yeah. Coens are an interesting pair. They make a lot of interesting movies.
It is really like when we did this. So back in the ancient times, when we used to like, instead of having a director's thing be a multi-series thing, and we would just when we had time to watch 6 movies a week instead of one, we would do like one episode about a whole director's movies. And I think we did the Coen comedies, as I think we said. We weren't going to do all the Coen movies because that was too many movies, but we did all what we called the Coen comedies. And it's interesting that you can kind of draw this line between their different types of films, that they have some films that are trying to be more like zany comedy fun, and some that are trying to be much more serious. Like I love the film True Grit. I don't even know where I'd file that one up, honestly. But they're I mean, it certainly makes sense for me that there would be a movie of theirs on this list. We will end up with two, and we get I think two from, like, we already talked about this, but like opposite sides of the spectrum. Like, we have No Country for Old Men, one of the most cynical, dour, sad movies ever, and then we have this movie that's like, isn't this fun?
Yeah, I love just a explicit contrast that this movie loves music and sort of views music as almost, divine.
Yeah,
No Country for Old Men has no soundtrack.
that's true.
It's one of the only movies, one of the only popular movies that has no soundtrack, no music at all.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Because if music is the divine, there is no God in this movie. there is no God in the world of No Country for Old Men. There's no divine intervention. There's no salvation.
Yeah.
There's no even implication that, if you just do right, then you'll be protected. It's like, no, none of that.
Nope. Sorry. You're fucked.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, I love that. I've never thought about that contrast. I mean, I don't know.
I dig that.
Yeah.
That's great. So, is there anything else you wanted to say about Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
I don't think
you
so.
You haven't seen the movie that this movie gets its name from, right?
No.
Sullivan's Travels. Yeah, it's a good movie. You should see that movie.
Okay, I didn't really know that there was a specific movie, honestly.
Yeah, it's a quote from that movie, Sullivan's Travels, where he is a film director, and he decides he wants to tell a movie about the plight of the common man during the Great Depression, and so he like eschews all his wealth and like dresses up as a homeless man and like walks out the door to experience a life of poverty, and learns an important lesson about, hey, that's bullshit, you idiot.
Cool. Okay.
It's a very good movie. I think it's from the 40s. I don't remember. Let me look it up. It's one of those absolute classics.
That's fun.
They say the Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? 1941. That is a quote directly from the movie.
Oh, cool. Okay. Didn't know that. Thanks for letting me know.
Yeah. It's got it's a Preston Sturges picture. And Veronica Lake is the lead. She's a very pretty lady.
Yeah.
All right.
That
was Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Doof. All right, let's do a discussion question.
Let's do it.
Last week, our discussion question was, who's the best Spider-Man?
Yeah.
So obviously, we had a variety of answers. Steven
had like a bunch of different answers and only one right one.
Yeah, exactly. So Steven says the best Spider-Man is from the 90s cartoon. It did all the classic Spider-Man things that we know and love from essentially every other adaptation. What sets it apart was that it wasn't really a lightweight villain of the week cartoon. It had long-running story arcs and was surprisingly ambitious. Obviously, my memory is a bit hazy since I haven't seen it in like 30 years, but it gave us plenty of depth with tons of other heroes, not just cameos. I remember Daredevil, Punisher, Iron Man, Captain America, Doctor Strange, Blade, and the Fantastic Four and X-Men. Plus, you two mentioned the Secret Wars, which I didn't know they were making. I remember the whole arc from this cartoon, and it was amazing. He got to do his own Avengers assembly, and the Beyonder put him on Battleworld, and it was so much fun. Typing this all out has been me eager to find a way to rewatch this cartoon, so thank you for that too.
I watched this cartoon not too long ago because I was showing it to my son to see if he would get into it.
Does it hold up?
I don't want to yuck Steven's yums. I didn't think it was that great.
Yeah, I mean, I remember loving it as a kid. I don't know if I would love it now, but I definitely was really into it. I watched a lot of it, actually. Yeah,
I did too.
I remember the whole Black Suit Spider-Man and Venom arc in the cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. I don't know that I've consciously thought about the cartoon, despite the fact that that is where all of my Spider-Man knowledge actually comes from.
Same.
Up until the Raimi movies, obviously. Yeah.
Yep.
That's so funny. Yeah. No, great. I mean, yeah, I loved. It was very formative for me as well. Great answer, Stephen.
Yeah, I mean, what I'll say is I've watched that, and I've watched the Batman animated series recently to show to my son, and I definitely like the Batman one more.
Batman one was just, I think, like a visual treat, right?
It's almost an unfair comparison because it's like one is like one of the greatest superhero cartoons ever. But yeah, no, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right. Next we have Dark Willow Wisp, who says Miles Morales, voiced by Shameik Moore in Into the Spider-Verse, is my favorite on-screen Spider-Man. That movie is a machine that creates tears and brings so much joy to my heart. And the scene in Across the Spider-Verse where all the Spider People are chasing him high up into the air, and we realize he has had a plan the whole time. And he says, people keep telling me how my story's supposed to go. Nah, I'm gonna do my own thing. I can't believe we have to wait 11 more months for the conclusion to that trilogy. I cannot wait. Me neither. I'm so looking forward to that movie. I've loved that series as well.
I have never felt a similar feeling of needing to know what was going to happen next at the end of a movie, and knowing that I was not going to find out for an incredibly long time.
It's pretty rough. Yeah. It's been, how long has it been?
I feel like it's been a couple of years. I don't really know.
Okay, right.
Great movies, yeah. Aqua Lungfish says, I've thought on it a bit, and I honestly think my favorite Spider-Man is Yuri Lowenthal, aka the actor in the Insomniac Spider-Man game, as mentioned briefly in this episode. When I finished playing the first game for the first time, I realized it was easily the best Spider-Man adaptation I'd experienced. That version of the Peter Parker character, showed all the different aspects of his character perfectly, and the story built around him was excellent, showing a slightly older and more experienced Peter dealing with being an established superhero. It's a close race with several Spider People, but I think this one takes it for me. If I had to stick to movie versions, I actually think Tom's version of this movie specifically would be at the top of the list, though. All right.
We did mention that game briefly on the show last week. I do just want to reiterate, like, I think that is just like, if you like that 90s cartoon, if you like Spider-Man, if you like all of it, I think there's so much to like in that game. I think if you have a PlayStation, you should play it.
I haven't played it, but I have no trouble believing you, in part because, like, the way these games work these days is you just spend so much time with the character and you identify with them so much because you're sort of inhabiting them. And so I can imagine, like, I just believe you that if I played that game, I would probably just feel really strongly attached and love that version of the character.
For sure. I guarantee it.
Cool. All right. The remaining short answers real quick. Again, thanks for answering, everybody. I am easily impressed says Tobey Maguire is the best Spider-Man actor. Nicolas Cage is the best Spider-Person actor. Okay. And Spider-Gwen is the best Spider-Person. Okay. Sure. Don Zess says Toby all day. But Garfield's No Way Home appearance got theater cheers. And also Jamie Foxx was redeemed in that movie. Yeah, that's true.
Was he?
I mean, in comparison.
No, I mean, yes, that very fair. At least they fixed the look of him.
Yeah,
which was terrible.
Yeah, and I like that they just did it and they didn't explain it. They're just like, "Yep, that's what we're doing."
Yeah,
and then finally, Tepid Gruel says, "It's just a joke about Spider-Man movie titles all containing home and Andrew Garfield being a cat." So thank you for your...
Oh, because his name is Garfield? Yeah. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yep. Cool. All right. Next.
That was cool.
Yeah. Thanks for everyone's answers. Next week's discussion question. I like this one. What makes a Coen movie good?
Ooh.
And then maybe work this into your answer, or maybe as a separate answer, do you enjoy the dramas or the comedy leaning films more?
It's a challenge we're throwing out to the people today.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Make sure you answer that question. And do so. You can do so if you want to, via email at doofmedia@gmail.com. You can go over to our Instagram at doofmedia. I was going to say our X account, but I really don't check that enough. So if you send it to there, I might not see it. But you can definitely go to the subreddit, reddit.com/doofmedia, and check it out there. And there'll be a thread for this episode. I couldn't think of the word there for a second. There'll be a thread for this episode over there, and you will be able to post there your answer, and also just to say hey and chat with some pretty cool people.
That's right. If you're not already subscribed to this podcast, we encourage you to do so and ensure you never miss an episode. You can find us on iTunes, YouTube, and pretty much anywhere else podcasts can be found.
And if you like what we do here and want to support us, please head on over to Doof Media, to patreon.com/doofmedia. I got it. I got there eventually. You can pledge at any of the available levels for some cool bonus features. You can also pledge for free. And if you do that, you can read Matt's wonderful story, The Knot, which he is writing every Monday morning. New episodes released. It's been so much fun. You guys need to check it out if you haven't started reading it yet already. It's great. Please check it out.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to last more than a couple more months. So if you want to be part of it and guide the progress of the story, then now would be a good time to catch up.
What about the sequel?
Well, that's another matter. That's another matter. Anyway, also please consider rating and reviewing the Doofcast on Apple Podcasts. Each review helps us get more exposure and introduces new people to the content that we make here.
All right, folks, next week on the show, we have our 23rd film of this 25-episode series. It is going to be another film that Matt has watched more times than is possibly reasonable. We're talking about Blade Runner 2049. It's like one of your favorite movies, Matt.
It was my movie I watched on airplanes for several years. So, yeah.
You want to hear something wild?
Sure.
This is going to be the first time I have watched this movie since theaters.
That's incredible.
I have not rewatched it. We recorded an episode on it back in the day. I really liked it. Haven't seen it since. So
that makes me, for some reason, even more excited to talk about it with you.
Good. I think it's gonna be fun. I can't wait to check it out and study it a little closer than I did last time. So it should be fun. Should make for a fun episode. We're rapidly coming to the end of the series at last. I think we've got only 2 more after this one. So yeah, please join us for Blade Runner 2049 next week.
Yep.
We'll see you then.
My name is Doof, and you'll do what I say. My name is Doof, and you'll do what I say.